Today, we're diving into a new method that could totally change the game when it comes to spotting the next big thing in the super competitive world of startups.
Okay, let's just start with a dose of reality. The simple, kind of brutal fact is that about 90% of all startups, well, they eventually fail. It's an incredibly high-stakes game we're talking about.
And believe it or not, it gets even tougher. Even when you look at the startups that actually manage to get funding from venture capitalists, the supposed cream of the crop, a staggering 75% of them never even return that initial investment. Wow.
I mean, these failure rates aren't just a string of bad luck. They're a massive red flag that the old ways of valuing companies, the methods built for established businesses, they just aren't cutting it for new ventures. So, what's the solution?
Well, the heart of the problem is that we've been trying to apply old rules to a completely new game. It's kind of like trying to measure the speed of a rocket with a yardstick. It's just the wrong tool for the job. And you can see the mismatch right here. Established companies have a past, right? They've got financial records, market data, stuff you can really analyze. But startups, they are a totally different animal. They're all about the future. They have no history, they operate in total uncertainty, and a lot of the time, they're creating markets that don't even exist yet. The old tools are completely blind to that kind of potential.
And this is where a completely new approach comes into play. It's a method that's designed specifically to handle the beautiful, messy chaos of innovation.
The whole thing is built on this idea called Quality 4.0. And look, forget what you think about dusty old quality control. This is all about blending the irreplaceable gut instinct of human experts with the raw number-crunching power of modern technology to make way smarter, faster decisions.
So how do you actually capture that expert intuition without it just becoming a mess of subjective opinions? Well, the answer, pretty amazingly, comes from a psychological law that's almost 100 years old.
Think about it like this. What's easier for you? Rating a movie on a scale of 1 to 10, or just saying whether you liked movie A more than movie B? The second one, right? It's just more intuitive. That's the genius behind Thurston's Law. It takes this simple human tendency and uses it to build a really powerful, statistically solid model.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to walk through the methodology and see exactly how this process transforms all those subjective expert opinions into a single objective score.
First things first, you got to define the rules of the game. A panel of experts gets together and decides which factors are the most critical for a startup to succeed and, just as important, how much each of those factors weighs. And in the case study they ran, this is what the experts came up with. Notice that innovation in tech gets the biggest slice of the pie here, a full third. Right behind it is the team. And that just reflects a fundamental truth in the venture world, right? It always comes down to a great idea and a great team. Okay, next up. For each of those 5 criteria, the experts then evaluate a whole group of startups. And they don't need some complicated scoring system. It's just a simple scale. High, medium, low. That's it. It keeps it straightforward and super quick.
So what you end up with is a nice, clean assessment matrix that looks something like this. It's basically a snapshot that puts all the expert judgments in one organized place, which makes a really complex evaluation suddenly very easy to see. Now, this is where the system takes over and does all the heavy lifting. It takes those simple high, medium, and low rankings and translates them into hundreds, sometimes thousands of direct head-to-head comparisons. For every single criterion, it's basically asking, did startup A do better than startup B? Over and over again. And then, finally, this is where the magic happens. The model processes all of those weighted comparisons, remembering which criteria were most important, and it synthesizes everything down into one single quantitative score for each startup. And boom, this is the payoff. That whole complex web of expert opinions is transformed into a clear, data-driven ranking. You can see at a glance which ventures are the most promising. Here, Startup 4 is leading the pack. No more guesswork, just a clear, actionable number. Now, it's so important to get this. This isn't just some interesting academic exercise. This model has powerful, real-world applications for literally everyone in the innovation ecosystem. I mean, a reliable scoring system like this creates a common language for everybody. Investors can use it to quickly filter through opportunities. Incubators know exactly where a startup needs help. Even the founders themselves get an objective look at where they stand. You could even use it on crowdfunding platforms to give small investors a simple quality signal. And as the researchers behind this study put it so perfectly, this method provides a shared yardstick. When you create a standardized way to measure potential, you reduce all that individual bias, and you make the whole process of funding and supporting innovation more systematic, more transparent, and frankly, a lot more fair.
Which really leaves us with the final big thought to chew on. If we get better at systematically identifying and supporting the most promising new ideas, are we just getting better at picking the winners? Or could we actually be creating a system that produces more of them in the first place? Something to think about.